What's going on, YouTube? How are you doing today? We have a live stream that I'm going to do. What's going on? Oh, let me YouTube. Turn this down. We are doing middle ground. Rich versus poor. Is the economy rigged? I find this to be a relatively interesting conversation, only because I'm pretty much in the middle. I'm not rich. I'm not poor. Well, I'm in the middle for America. As Americans, we're all really well off compared to the rest of the world. And so I think to say that I'm not rich compared to maybe the whole world is off. But I'm definitely not rich when it comes to America. So I'm going to start off by saying that. But I'm middle class here in America, and I kind of see both sides of the argument, and I'm kind of wondering where I fall on most of these questions that are asked. And I felt like this would be cool to kind of just jump on a live stream and interact with you guys and see what your opinions are. I know I have viewers from all over the world, and so I think it'll be kind of interesting to get different perspectives. So feel free to jump in on the chat and yell at me or scream at me or whatever you want to do at me, and I'll read your chats. But let's get it. Let's go.
Estate guy, I can make.
Also, I love little middle ground just because it really starts the conversation. And a lot of these conversations are one that's are uncomfortable to have, but are necessary. And so I think it's a really good service Jubilee does by doing this. So yeah, there we go.
Make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you a bad guy, yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Let me turn this down a little bit so that way I guess I could pause if I give thanks.
Step forward if you agree.
Okay.
Being poor is a choice.
See, that's a tough question. I don't think it's a choice. I can see how people would say it's a choice because you spend money on things that you want or you don't need. But I don't know if it's necessarily a choice. Because I know a lot of people who work hard and just aren't able to save money because what they make is just enough to get by. But I've also known people that buy things that they shouldn't. Like when I was in the military, a lot of the young enlisted would buy these really fancy cars. And you would see them sit in the barracks day after day. And you're like, hey, why aren't you out driving your new car? Why aren't you doing this and that? And they're like, well, I can't afford the insurance on it. So it's like, I understand that part, and I think it's a difference between being really, really poor and being lower middle class and choosing how to spend money wrong that puts you in that poor category. Like, I could outpace my means right now and be in a lot of trouble. However, I don't. And so I think on that choice, that's a choice. But also, I think there's just some jobs that don't pay enough. Let me take that back. There's just some jobs that don't give people enough hours that they can get the benefits and the money that they need to live. I think that's horrible. But I would say I would not agree with this. I would not agree that being poor is a choice. Ooh, somebody agrees. 2 people agree. Okay.
I do not want to be disingenuous to ignore systemic issues that we all experience, but I feel like it's 2021 and there's a lot of free resources. I mean, Facebook has a lot of free courses. I think that poor is also a mindset.
I agree. Originally, when I
Now I can agree with that. I think being poor can be a mindset where, yeah.
came out here, I started straight at the homeless shelter. I had to flee from domestic violence from my family. Most people in general don't choose to be poor, but since I've been here, specifically in LA, a lot of people outside, they don't want to come into the shelter because they'd rather be in the tents.
I mean, I grew up poor, so I have been on both sides of the coin. And I can reflect and look back on some of the lifestyle choices that I was making.
See, I think that's where I was at. What I was trying to say is lifestyle choices can lead you to become poor, but that is not, I think the statement was too general. And I think it was overbroad in who it can reach. I think there are people that make poor choices that become poor, but I also don't believe being poor is a choice all the time, if that makes sense.
Some of the people that I was hanging around, so I don't think that people can initially control if they're born into poverty, but I think that there is a certain level of control.
And in America, the bottom 5%, if you're born into the bottom 5%, you're like 95% likely to not end up in the bottom 5%, which is absolutely insane to think that there's that much advantage to just being an American, where if you're in the bottom 5, you're not going to be there their whole life. And people fluctuate throughout the different things. Sometimes people fall down into what's considered poor, and some people rise, and so it's a fluctuating thing.
Control that comes along with being able to have that determination and that resilience.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
We need to realize that these people are on the street not because of their own choosing.
Again, not always true.
But because of the system that we live in perpetuates these things.
If I could speak to that, I come from a family that once relied on welfare and food stamps.
Katie? How you doing, Katie?
And I have been blessed enough to make millions of dollars in real estate. But had I bought real estate from 2005 to 2008, I'd probably be bankrupt today. I just bought it at the right time.
People wish to be rich, they don't want to be rich. The difference is, do you take action? That being said, I agree with a lot of your points you're making about people not really having the resources or the opportunity to have any kind of action plan.
Some people don't even want to be rich. Like, I don't want to be rich. But I also don't want to be poor. I'm happy in the middle. And I would want to live in society where they could perpetuate people to lift themselves out of poverty through programs.
You do live in that society. Like I said, if you're born in the bottom 5%, you're 95% likely not to end up. I don't know if the precise number is 95%, but you're more than likely not going to end up in the bottom 5% at the end of your life. That's the kind of society we live in. But also, I don't necessarily want to be rich. I feel like I will never be rich because I like to help people when they need it. And I think that would be the only reason I would ever want any kind of money, is to be able to help people. I know it's going to sound like I'm trying to just toot my own horn, but that's just the kind of person I am. I like to help. And I got that a lot from my parents. And I think that's the best trait that I got from my parents, is that money to me is just a piece of paper and what I have to get by, and I need it to live, but I don't live to need it, if that makes sense.
And just be in the middle.
Billionaires should not exist.
I disagree. Again, because if you're saying billionaires should not exist, what are you going to take the money from them? Is that what you're saying? Is you're going to take the money and redistribute it? That is inequality right there. You're taking somebody's money and you're not allowing them to do different things. A lot of times these billionaires give a lot of money away. That's just the way that is, and they're doing a lot of good with it, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve it. That doesn't mean we should take it away from them. I don't
see how anyone could ever spend $1 billion.
You don't have to spend it.
It's not a necessity to have that much money, and I feel like there is a certain cap in which, like, you can completely survive and thrive with this amount of money, and then if you surpass that, you're just hoarding.
See, the thing that a lot of people don't understand, and it's something I had to wrap my head around, is let's say we take Bill Gates, for example. We take all of his money, we give everybody in the world, let's say that all of his money can give everybody in the world $100. Bill Gates will end up being a billionaire again, and the people that didn't have the money will end up right where they were. It's just some people know how to make their money work for them while other people don't. And that's why I'm against redistributing people's wealth. It's not going to do a dang thing. It's going to end up right back where it was.
And then we've seen what people with billions of dollars are doing with their money. They're going to space for fun. Like, clearly.
They're stimulating the economy. You're making jobs by allowing people to work at that place that sends you to space for fun. You're the people selling the tickets, the people who are making the ship, the people who are taking your phone call to make that order. Everybody, they're giving people jobs. You're stimulating the economy.
If we tax those people properly.
That's a lie. If we tax them properly, what's properly?
Get their wealth and distribute it to people.
I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes like people have idealistic views and it just bugs me.
People who need it, that'd be a much better use than going to space for fun.
People would disagree. Maybe somebody will say, well, going to space for fun is a better use of that money than it is redistributing it.
Personally, I don't think there's an issue with billionaires existing. The issue for me is that they need to be held accountable the same way poor people do. And I'm talking about the justice system.
When you look at a lot of billionaires who have gotten that way because of the just incredible amount of value they've given to society, I won't even talk about a huge, crazy billionaire. I'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a billionaire. He made amazing music. That's how he became a billionaire. And so I don't think it's the government's job to interject and say, okay, you have too much, we need to give it away. I mean, it would also never happen in any other arena.
Plus, I can look at somebody who makes $1 million and say, well, they make way too much money. They shouldn't have all that money. I should get some of that because I'm not a millionaire. Like, where does the line stop? If you make $100,000 a year, is that too much? Like, there are line drawing necessities that just can't exist.
No one's going to go, hey, Simone Biles, you have too many gold medals. We're going to take them from you, and we're going to give them to the other people who weren't as talented as you.
I completely agree.
I completely disagree. I feel like that is the government's job. And Jay-Z, like you said, Jay-Z made his money from music. That's his labor. He's a musician. He's selling his talent. But then when he invested in the alcohol...
So he made money off of his talent, but then he can't take that money and invest it? It makes zero sense.
Then he's using other people who are harvesting the wheat, the agave. They're breaking their back. They're using their labor.
And they're getting paid for that labor. That's what you're not thinking. What has he done that then creates all these other jobs?
So do you think that he shouldn't invest in those people? Should they just like say, the hell with your dreams, I'm not going to invest in you?
I'm saying,
what about the job?
what do you mean?
They're having jobs.
Yeah, but how much are they getting paid for the jobs? Or those jobs in the third world where
that's why you have to, that right there is not a rich versus poor discussion. That's a completely different discussion, and I agree that we should not take advantage of labor in other countries that pay little to nothing. I disagree with that vehemently. I don't think we should do that, but that's what happens. But there are things out there like fair trade, so fair trade coffee to make sure people get paid what they deserve to get paid.
they're getting paid pennies,
Yeah,
and then Jay-Z
no
makes
job.
millions off their labor.
How much do you pay your employees?
You think harvesting
than
isn't
enough?
going to exist if Jay-Z doesn't invest?
If I may interject, I pay my employees incredibly well, and I let them choose their own hours. Someone who works for me is a single mother. I pay her $50 an hour. And I think that people that are providing jobs and opportunities, you can hate on them all you want, but at the end of the day, nobody would work that job if it wasn't in some way, shape, or form worth it.
People who make $1 billion get a fraction of the value they create.
Also, when you say somebody's a billionaire, that doesn't mean they have billions of dollars. They're worth that. Their companies are worth that. Their brand is worth that. That doesn't mean that they have that money. It just means that that's what they're worth. It's hard to they don't have tangibly billions of dollars. It's intangibles that if they were to sell their company, they could receive billions of dollars for it.
Everybody here who has a business understands that. Even Jay-Z only gets 15 cents a record he sells. Okay?
Yes, that's
so,
because he got exploited by the record label who's using his label to make money. The same
you
thing
keep using this word
when he
exploiting like
invests.
you understand the record business, of which I am in, okay? Record labels back hundreds of artists. Do you know how many go busto? Yeah. Okay? They're taking risk in an artist by the tapes, paying the engineers, marketing, etc. They're exploiting them. They're taking on a bet. And they can't just give everybody 50-50. They'll go bankrupt. You don't understand the record business and you're just yelling out these words exploiting like you know what you're talking about, but you don't.
That's what happens when you run into people who know something.
That's why
They're not exploiting.
That's why there's one Jay-Z and not millions
Exactly.
of them.
I actually want to ask a question of how you define exploited and why you're saying that.
I'm using exploited in the Marxian term where your labor creates value and then your employer takes that value and distributes it unevenly.
But you got to look at it as if I'm opening a business, I have 100% of the risk. I'm putting my money into the business. I am hiring you who has zero of the risk of the business, and I'm paying you a wage which is probably a fraction of what I'm making. Because again, I have 100% of the risk, you have zero. If I go bankrupt, you lose a job, but you can go get another one without having to pay the money or the price or the consequence of having that business where I'm stuck at. I've lost my money now. You know what I mean?
To themselves and then leaves the rest for the workers. That's exploitation. My name is David. I work for Disney in the entertainment character department and I make around $33,000 a year.
I mean, that's a good wage for something that I don't know, and that's poor. I don't know if I classify $33,000 a year as poor. I mean, I have graduate level and I don't make much more than that. So, I mean.
How's your experience been working at Disneyland?
My experience working at Disneyland is very mixed. The workers themselves, like my coworkers, are amazing people. Unfortunately, the company is not so great. They don't pay us that much. They have enough money to pay us more. I think they should just pay.
Then don't work there. My whole thing is
More.
is if you think you deserve more, go work somewhere else. End of story. Don't complain about it. You took that amount of money. That's what you thought you were worth at that moment in time. That's one thing you got to learn. Fight for what you think you're worth, and if they're not going to pay you, go somewhere else. And then you'll find out maybe you're not worth as much.
But I don't think they're going to do that. That's why I'm advocating for a union to bargain in our favor.
My name is Ginny, and I run a software design agency. And this year I'm going to be taking home about $400,000.
It's pretty good. Again, I wouldn't classify that as rich. I would say that's upper middle class. I don't know exactly where the class lines divide, but yeah, I'd say that's probably upper middle class.
When I started my business, that was like
or lower upper class.
Like all consuming for me. Everything I did in my life was for business. And so I think my partner felt a lot of neglect. And so a lot of our arguments, a lot of the times that we had issues were because of my absence.
The economy is rigged.
Again, what does that mean? It's such an ambiguous term, rigged. What does rigged mean?
I would actually.
If you're born in a rich family, you have more opportunities. And as someone who is poor, living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck having to apply to jobs and settle for things that you don't like instead of being able to follow your passions.
I agree and disagree. I agree that it's rigged to incentivize certain areas and behaviors, like we have millions and millions of farm subsidies, so it supports agribusiness. It may support one area like real estate or capital investment over labor, but I don't think it's generally rigged to basically keep the rich guy rich and the poor guy poor. That part I'll disagree.
I agree with him on that.
But there are certain policies like the reinvestment in productive people's hands for building real estate. I would say that's a good thing. Right?
When you say
I don't
productive people, like, do you just mean people with money?
No, I mean people that actually take that money, organize people, put it to work, and create value. That's what I mean by productive people.
But who creates the value? It's the workers who create the value.
No, it's the consumer that creates the value.
Listen, there's people who take risk and they risk their money. That's creating value. What you discount is the person willing to risk their savings, okay, and provide capital for that venture and to be paid last. So if it goes busto, the worker still gets paid, the investor doesn't. If it goes well, the worker gets paid and the investor makes money. You discount the role of capital and savings in any type of venture.
He does a lot.
Like my mom didn't want to be rich. She wanted to be a school teacher and work and do that and live in the middle ground, and that's fine. But there are people like me who want to take a lot of risk and get a lot of reward. And we put that capital to work. And you should respect that.
Now, I don't necessarily like his attitude about it. His attitude is a little bit holier than thou, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But I agree with what he's saying. You should respect to an extent the fact that I take risk, which creates your jobs. Like it is true. Otherwise, we'd be all working for the government on a fixed income that isn't going to make anything.
Hi, my name is Bill Perkins. I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things.
Hedge funder. I thought he said he was in the music business. Bill, are you lying?
Hi, my name is Bill Perkins. I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things. I manage my own money. How much I make?
See, I don't like hedge fund people. I don't have anything necessarily against them, but I'm not a big fan of them.
Annually, sometimes I lose money, but I'd say on average over 10 million a year. I took care of my dad in the last years of his life. He died broke. I did not inherit my money. I made it myself. I really don't care about the money. Money is a tool for me to have the experiences that I want to have out of life. And there are many experiences that I want to have.
You have to have a certain level of awareness and knowledge to know the rules of the game. And I think that there are barriers.
I'm interested in what Brittany does. I would say she's in fashion. I think she's very stylish. But I don't know what she does. I'm waiting for her little interview. I think that would be interesting to me.
Put in place to kind of prevent people from knowing the rules, but I think that it's out there and you can have access to it, and it's, I think that knowing the rules is different.
I know the rules, and I think they're disgusting. That's why I want to change them.
Why don't you play the game then? I mean, you can
I think they're disgusting. Why would I want to play the game?
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you a bad guy, yeah.
See, I cannot stand people like him. He has this victim mindset, whereas if you take advantage of loopholes, which I don't necessarily agree or disagree with, but if you take advantage of things that are out there that continually make you richer, you're a bad person. To me, that does not equate, and he just has this mindset of, I'm not where I want to be because of you. And again, it's a product of college and teaching Marxist ideology, and that everybody should be equal. There's a reason Marxism doesn't work. There's a reason communism doesn't work. People who live in communist areas don't like it. And there's a reason for that. So
you think so?
If you do that, yeah.
I'm following the law to a T.
The law is wrong. Yeah.
Why is it wrong? It's the law.
I'm not.
You think just because it's law, it's always right?
No, certainly not. Certainly
No,
not.
I'm not saying
but
that.
that's my point.
I'm not
No, the
saying
law is
that,
written
but
to encourage investment, is which they want. So he's investing. So the law is written to encourage certain things. If you disagree with it, you can go lobby and change. But he's not a bad guy.
I know you mentioned that there are barriers in place that do keep people kind of in impoverished conditions, but I don't think that we all acknowledge like the mental.
Well, that's where I was going. So if I can reflect on myself, I mean, I remember when I was living in poverty, I was just trying to survive. So I didn't even have the brain capacity to try to, or the willpower to kind of even desire to access the rules of the economy. But I mean, I had an epiphany, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I cannot live the rest of my life like this, and I don't care if people call me lame, square, they're gonna question my blackness. I mean, I don't care. I'm getting out.
Well, speaking about blackness, do you think there's a correlation between people from the African diaspora and people of color and poverty? You don't think there's like a relationship there?
It's true that, you know, I belong to a community that makes less than certain other communities. That's true. Significantly less. But you can't look at differences between groups and say it's only because of systems. Systems played a huge deal to it. I'm not discounting that at all. Like, it's a real big deal, and we're working to change that. But also, I mean, statistically, like, people from my old neighborhood and people, you know, around this in these communities, they spend about 50% more on shoes than people who are not in those neighborhoods. And it's like, man, that.
Well, not only that, Todd, but I think I looked up a recent statistic that said that Asian households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a week, where in a black household, it's like 3 hours a week.
That's a crazy difference. That's crazy.
I know you said it's not like a race issue, but when you think about the way that we got here as like African people, it was a race issue. We didn't have a chance to discover America like the other people did. So I feel like how you had mentioned that Asian Americans, they study more than black households. You don't feel like those communities are kind of socialized in their upbringing to be more inclined to care about their finances, as opposed to like African Americans, we would rather look rich than actually be rich. I think that's a part of like our community.
It's a culture, it's a choice.
Well, it's
not a choice.
I don't
To a certain extent.
I think it's a choice.
2021.
I do think it's a choice. I'm not going to say it's not a choice, but I'm saying, do you feel?
Don't jump in. They're having a conversation here between them two. I'm interested in this conversation, actually.
Like, some people don't have the same choices as other people's in different communities.
I think some people don't have the mental capacity to allocate the energy to learn the rules of the game, quote unquote, because their instincts are kicking in to just survive.
I think trauma plays a heavier role than we like to account for. Trauma is the reason why I'm here. I come from a family, a heavily cult Islamic family, and the things that I was doing in my life they didn't agree with. They pretty much sent people to my house to kill me. I was set up multiple times. They hacked my social media pages, both my iPhones, you know what I mean? So I don't want to just kind of ignore trauma as if it doesn't really matter in terms of what you are capable of doing, because people that are traumatized and people that do deal with a lot of oppression tend to get some of their choices removed.
I can acknowledge that, yes.
My name is Hanifa. I'm an author, and I'm currently homeless, so I don't make any money right now. I grew up Muslim my entire life, and in Islam, it is permissible to marry your cousin. So my family enforced sexual acts in between cousins. It led to me having to flee my hometown and come all the way to California, which is 2,600 miles away, just so that I can avoid being killed.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I have so much respect that she's still standing, and she's still standing strong and following what she wants. That's crazy. That life story is just, wow.
I've
impactful.
worried where my next meal will come from.
No, I mean, I wouldn't sit down with that one.
Me.
I don't get the rich people sitting down. Let's see what they say.
My partner right now are applying for EBT because we are just like living check to check right now.
See, the guy making $33,000, maybe the reason I don't think that's poor is because where I live, that is necessary. Like, you can live on $33,000. California, you can't. Leave California.
And I'm supporting both of us because she just lost her job. We're like literally trying to get help from the government so that we can know that we have the funds to get groceries. It's so hard, and it feels like it's not as accessible as people make it seem.
I think another thing that I think can really help any of these people who consider themselves poor, I don't know their circumstances, is a mentor. And I think being able to have a mentor and have somebody that will help you and teach you this kind of thing would go a long way. And I feel like Brittany and I forgot her name, Natifa, I believe. I don't want to butcher it, but I think they would be a really good team. Like, I can see that that Brittany has empathy for her.
To have everything stripped away from you and to not know where you're gonna sleep.
Hanafa. That's right, Hanafa.
It's just very difficult. You know, I almost feels like a past life of having like everything. You know, I had bags. I had to take my little Michael Kors back to the pawn shop, take every item of clothing that I had to Plato's Closet so that I could buy a one-way ticket for myself and my child. I didn't know what we were gonna eat. I didn't know where we were gonna sleep. And not to be a victim, but it's not my fault why I'm here, you know? It's because I speak out against cult behavior. I speak out against pedophilia. And publishing my story has the domino effect of that has led me to not knowing where I'm gonna eat. And I've never had that happen to me before prior to 4 months ago. And that's just really tough.
Thank you for sharing your story. That's really powerful. And
I agree. It's a powerful story.
yeah, like if you need help, like after this, let's just talk. That pulls on my heartstrings because my mother raised us 3 kids by herself, and my father was a wife beater. He was also a child molester, so anyone listening can connect the dots on that. I feel for you.
I almost want to jump out because it was only a short period of time, you know, and just that short period of time when you're busted or whatever, and you're just like, whatever, but you guys were like in the real thick of it. You guys are in the trenches. I visited the trenches for like a couple
You had a
months.
toe.
I had a toe in the trenches, you know?
So I'm getting paid paycheck to paycheck, and on top of that, I have a crippling gambling addiction. I'm addicted to weed. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to vaping.
I don't want to minimize it because all those are addictions. I don't know. I don't want to minimize it. They're all addictions. That's all I'm going to say.
And as soon as I have that direct deposit, it's like I have no control. Almost like I black out and I start gambling, start ordering.
Does she seek help? Has she gone to counseling? Has she gone to the different meetings?
Drinks, start ordering weed, and then I come out of that no control feeling, and I'm like thinking, how am I gonna feed my pets this week? My cat, my dog. Like I had all these plans up to my payday. Before I know it, all my money's gone, and it's addiction.
When you're in a position when you don't have a lot of money, you can't do a lot of things for fun, and you're often just like working. I have to survive, I have to feed myself. And so when you get that paycheck and you have just a little bit of enough money to do something that will spark joy for you, it's so hard to be like, no, I'll put it aside to save. It's like, I'll just do this one thing for myself.
But see, that's the difference between one side of the aisle and the other. The other side knows if I put this away, it'll be $2 tomorrow. It's kind of like my dad was telling me about this test that they did on kids. It's like, here, I'll give you a marshmallow. If you eat it now, that's fine. But if not, and I come back and there's still a marshmallow there, I'll give you another one, right? It's that learning, that lesson of if I hold off on pleasing myself now, in the future, the reward will be greater. And that is the difference between the rich side and the poor side right now on this video, is that the rich side knew that. They knew it was going to be hard work. I think it was Brittany who said, I had to realize I don't want to be poor anymore. And so all of this money that I'm spending, I'm going to put all my energy into saving it.
Just treat myself, and then it's like, well,
spirals.
now it's gone.
I
Now-
completely understand what you're saying, and I used to think like that too, but I also thought about how joyful it would be to be rich. I would rather not have that instant gratification, because the gratification of being infinitely stable or more stable is more important.
See? That's the difference there. That right there got to the crux of it.
My name is Brittany. I am a holistic health practitioner, and I make around $130,000 a year. My relationship with my brother has literally crumbled since I have acquired more money. He only calls me when he needs something. The only person that I really have a relationship is my mom. I haven't spoken to my brother.
That's tough.
I want them to be happy and, and successful more than anything. But it almost feels dehumanizing to be looked at as just the help and not a sister or a cousin or something like that, yeah.
That's tough. That is tough. Wow.
My name is Mia, and I'm currently working as a customer service representative for a moving and storage company. I make $45K a year.
That's a good amount of money. Again, I have a graduate level degree and I make a little bit more than that. That's it. So 45K is not bad.
My family has always been like, oh, you gotta look presentable, you gotta look nice whenever we're going out to eat or to the mall. But as an adult, a lot of my money isn't going towards buying new clothes or jewelry, makeup, whatever it might be. So you'll catch me in like sweats and a t-shirt, and I just don't feel presentable enough to be at the mall, to be at a restaurant, because of that embarrassing feeling and shame of not investing more in how I present myself.
See, me, I'm in basketball shorts and sweats all day, every day. I'm lucky to have a job that allows me to kind of come to work relaxed and not dressed up, because I really don't want to be dressed up. So I think it all depends on, again, mindset. I don't feel like I have to look rich, if that makes sense.
The disagreeer.
You're just hanging out back there.
I feel like I misunderstood the prompt.
So have you ever worried about where your next meal was going to come from?
Just
Ever?
once.
Oh, no, I definitely have.
Oh, I've worried where my next meal could come from. I don't think I've been there.
Like when I was in college, I was trying to buy groceries, and
I know my best friend's been there, but I haven't.
the lady behind me ended up paying groceries for me, and it's so embarrassing because my card got maxed out and I had no money in the bank account, basically.
$15 an hour is not enough for minimum wage.
All right. This I will fight to the death on. $15 an hour is way more than enough to live on if you live within the $15 an hour. Again, no matter what you make minimum wage, all the costs for everything else is going to go up. Just the facts of life. Because you're charging you're paying more for your workers, which means in order for you to make the same kind of money, you have to charge more. Again, in a perfect world, you want to charge more, but this isn't a perfect world, and people still need their money. $15 an hour is way over what I think is needed. But I keep pressing the wrong button. Oh wow! Wow, that's interesting. Okay. I thought it was going to be all the poor people and none of the rich people, but it's a mix.
I have a question for you two. You both mentioned that you suffer from addiction, and that as soon as you get a paycheck, it's gone, whether it's gambling or weed or shopping or whatever. If you had a higher income, would that change?
Personally, yes, because the whole reason
No. I don't believe her.
I gamble is like, let me get that $60,000 win and I'll stop gambling. That's
That's our problem right there. 60K won't be enough. 60K won't be enough for her. If you are an actual addict, that's not that what she's saying is absolutely wrong. If you're an actual addict, what she is saying is absolutely untrue. And she might have herself convinced of it, but it's absolutely untrue.
My mindset, right? And another thing is, I feel like if I were to have like passive income, I guess you can say, or be.
And I think she probably makes $15 an hour if she makes 45K. Let me do some quick math here. $15 an hour times 40 hours a week. 600 times 4 in the month is 24 times 12. Yeah, $15 an hour comes out to $28,800. So maybe that's why she doesn't think $15 an hour is enough, is because she already makes $15 an hour. More than that. What? That's got to be $20 a month, or $20 an hour, right? Times 40 equals times 4 times 12. She makes more than $20 an hour. Like, what does she want? Probably what, 25 times 4. Oh wait, no, crap. 25 times 40 times 4 times. Yeah, she makes about $25 an hour. So, how much money does she want to make an hour?
Financially stable, I can pursue and distract myself with my actual passions. Like, I want to start a true crime YouTube channel, but I don't have the laptop, I don't have the camera. The addiction.
Do you have a phone? See, that's my thing. Do you have a phone to start YouTube? I started with a tablet. That's how I started. And then as I got money and I could save money, I did not pay for my computer. What I did was I put my computer together with my dad, and that's how and you save a lot of money by building your own computer over buying a nice computer. So, I mean,
addiction takes control, so I don't think about the things I don't have, and I just feel numb and thoughtless, and I'm just enjoying my TV. And so, yeah, I feel like it would change. I would be able to have other distractions that are beneficial to me in a positive way.
If you had more money, you could probably have access to help, like medical help.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I'm sure she has benefits through her job that give her health care.
psychiatrist, because that's really expensive, and you can't afford it living off of minimum wage, you know.
She doesn't live off a minimum wage. We just ran the numbers. She doesn't live off a minimum wage.
I feel like
She can afford it. She just spends it elsewhere.
a lot of jobs will pay minimum wage, but they will expect maximum effort. And I'm like, if you're gonna pay me minimum wage, I'm putting in the bare minimum effort.
And that's the difference. You start off, no matter where you are, most of the time you're going to start off at minimum wage. But you work hard, oftentimes, not all the time, trust me, I understand. Oftentimes, okay, one example, I worked at Subway prior to going to law school. And I worked my butt off. And I told my boss, I was making a little bit more than minimum wage at the time. I told my boss, I need a raise or I'm gone. He's like, name your price. Because I was a hard worker. And I worked my butt off. And that place wouldn't have run without me, or wouldn't have run as good without me. And he knew that. So you can get to that point of name your price if you work hard.
I've always looked at it the opposite way. Like, if I go into a company and they're paying me minimum wage, I do everything that I can to get promoted. Hi, my name is Todd. I am 29 years old. I am a real estate investor and a YouTuber, and I make about $1.4 million per year. When you grow up the way I did with no money and your mom is struggling and crying herself to sleep every night because you can't pay the bills, that takes a toll on you as a kid and seeing that struggle. I got my first job when I was 12 years old, literally shoveling horse poop for $3 an hour. And I looked at myself when I was 12 years old and I was like, you've got to make $1 million a year by the time you're 30.
My name is Sean. I'm 23 years old. I'm a musician and content creator, and I make minimum wage at a retail job. If I wasn't having to work every day to pay my rent, then I would have more time to make music and connect with people and find venues to perform my music.
See, that's the thing. You can do that. You're just... I had the same conversations with some of my friends. If you want to pursue your dreams and you want to do music, no time is better than now to do it. But you're going... The saying, a starving artist, is a saying for a reason. If you want to put that time in and you think you're good enough to make it, and you think you're good enough to do it, you're going to do it. Or you can do a job and then do your music at night. Like, I understand a job can take a toll on you, but you don't want it enough. If you're not making moves, the excuses get to me. Because I used to be that way. That's why, like, excuses and people coming up with excuses really annoy me.
Music, and if I had the money, I would be able to market and promote my music so that
See, like that's how I used to think. Well, if I had the money, I could do all of this. But I don't, so I just can't do it. No, that's not how you think about it. There's YouTube, which is literally a free platform to put your music on for free for billions of people. Billions of people. You cannot use that excuse anymore of, if I had the money, I could promote my music. We've seen too many people rise up from YouTube to make a career in music. I'm sorry.
they could reach a wider audience.
There's no wider audience.
For me, my mindset is
none.
Working minimum wage is always temporary. It's always been like, okay, we work minimum wage, but we're gonna work harder to get promoted, and then we're gonna do something else with our lives.
Many years ago, you could go live off the land. You didn't have to work for somebody in order to survive. All the land is taken. It's in federal land. You can't go fishing in these federal streams. You can't do that. So that's not possible at scale. In order to survive, you must work for someone else. That forces wages down. Right? People can't just go, F you, I'm not gonna work, I'm gonna chill and work on my novel or do whatever. So that's the part where I agree with you on, like, I'm a supporter of UBI so that people aren't forced to work.
I am in no way, shape, or form in favor of UBI.
Now where I disagree is that we don't pay people based on what they need. And you were kind of pointing to this. I give the minimum effort if you pay me minimum wage. But there's certain jobs that are not worth $15 an hour. They're just frankly not worth it. Maybe they're worth $5, maybe they're worth $2. I want you to watch TV for an hour in your house and tell me how many commercials come up, because I'm doing a survey. I'm gonna pay you $7 an hour. You think I should have to pay you $15 an hour for that? Or would you take $7 an hour to sit on your couch and count commercials that show up on the television?
I mean, yeah, I would take any money.
Okay, so everybody here agreed that it should be $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
But by making the wage $15 an hour, you just eliminated a job that he's willing to do.
More money, more problems.
100%.
More money.
People with more money worry more about money than people with little money. 100%.
More problems, but that's a path that I'm willing to take on, because the problems that come along with not having money, I can't imagine going back there. I made it a point to position myself adjacent to people who I felt like I could learn from. I remember parking my little Chevy Cruze up off of Griffith Observatory in Hollywood Hills just to be around money.
You guys mind if I start?
Yeah, please.
A lot of the problems in my life would be solved with just, not even if I was rich, but just like a little bit more money.
And then more problems would come up. Just understand this, people. If you take one thing from this live, is if you think money's gonna solve your problems, it's not. More money or more problems come up. 100%.
I would just have so much less stress and less things to worry about, and I wouldn't be finding myself in these situations where I'm worried about how am I going to pay rent, how am I going to get gas to drive, how am I going to eat.
More money, like more social responsibility, right? Going back to
What does that mean?
like if you're a billionaire, then you have social responsibility to take care of people who might have less than you.
Really? I'm not seeing that. And
Then open your eyes. Open your eyes. He is so ignorant. That's the college. If I had to type him, probably a liberal arts degree from a college.
in modern day
You have
life,
a billionaire beef.
modern day life, what are billionaires doing?
I want to add real quick to what you were saying, that I had my first felony when I was 14 years old. I had gotten a DUI in 2018, so I was still going in and out of courthouses. I'm struggling trying to get a job, applying, getting interviews, getting a job offer, background check, offer rescinded, and that hurts a lot. But I'm over here watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda Hadid's daughter just so happens to also get a DUI, but she's taking off in her modeling career like it was just a hiccup. I'm also seeing cases of affluenza where this kid driving his dad's truck drunk killed someone, and he gets off for affluenza, which means you're too rich to know what's good or bad, so you don't get any repercussions.
I've never.
Yeah,
So to me,
That's a real thing, unfortunately. Yeah, no, it's a real thing.
Hollywood too.
I agree with my punishments. I messed up and I will accept
But
it.
you want it to be fair treatment.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because
you've
when
done
I
your
see
time.
that, it's just slap in the face. Like, what is the justice system? That's not justice.
Listen, I like the song "More Money, More Problems."
I like it too.
It's jamming,
I love
but
this song.
it's really more money, different problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a cut.
Okay.
We did it.
That's a wrap.
What do you code in?
Oh, we don't
Is it
code.
Python?
No, we don't code.
Interesting. He was trying to get a job there at the end. Anyways, guys, this was fun. I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to have a friend with me. I think it'll be better if I have a back and forth with somebody here. I think he would have agreed with me on a lot of things that I said here. Maybe except for the music thing, because he's a musician trying to make it. Anyways, guys, if you liked it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If not, you can hit the thumbs down. Join the Bearded Fam. We're the best family on the internet. I hope each and every one of y'all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, until next time, YouTube, smile like you mean it. From the Bushy Beard.